Alrighty, what is up, YouTube, Instagram? Good to see you. So if you're watching this live or on the replay, thank you for being here. And so what you're going to be seeing in this video is behind the scenes of me actually doing a few videos that I want to do. I'm only just going to do two that I'll do live on Instagram. It's like a 60-minute cap. So that's what you'll see. The settings and everything, I'm using the M50 and all that. Audio is being picked up from the computer. We'll see how it goes. But that's what we're doing for this setup here. And I want to see if I can adjust the lighting here on this as well. I don't know why I don't have my settings on the M50. So that's flopping. So if you're listening to this, we'll just go over to this camera until I get the M50 sorted out. So we're doing it live on YouTube and Instagram. Hello, wonderful people of the internet. I'm getting the M50 set up here. Trying to figure out why I don't have my screen on for me to be able to see it, so I can adjust things. I've had the battery out of the M50 long enough though that it is reset, unfortunately. So it's like I'll probably have to go back through and do the settings and all that. So we are winging that side of things. But whether you're live or on the replay, thanks for being here. Thank you for your time and attention. Let's see if I can bring up comments so I can see those. So I got two videos that I'm going to be recording. I still need to set it up and everything like that. So you just literally behind the scenes. You got questions along the way, feel free to drop those. And I don't know if I'll keep this live on YouTube or not. It's only good on for 24 hours on Instagram. But let's see here. Comments. Where the thingy bob was at? And we can roll music in the background, allegedly. Which should help break up the noise. Alright. Let's see. I don't know if I can get these settings right on the M50. So we're going to swap back over on the computer real quick. So, FYI, doing these videos, it literally, I usually have stuff set up. The fact I'm introducing two types of streams just further makes things weird. Let's see here, M50, what you doing? Alright. Let me adjust the ISO. So, quick tip for live streaming. Have your stuff together. Better tip for doing videos. It don't take all of this. Videos are usually like super duper easy to do. There we go. That looks better. So videos are usually super duper easy to do when you're talking about doing videos like in your home office or whatever the case is. It don't take a whole bunch. You get your marker set up, like what I call the record to edit process, which is basically whatever it is that you're going to do. Like if I want my desk pulled back, I have markers on the floor here that will show me exactly where my desk needs to be placed. So that means pulling it back about there. And it's just, since these are, what do you call it? Linoleum, maybe? I don't know. It's not wood, but it's like linoleum or something. Then that works as far as being able to write on the thingy, and it works fine. And then up here. Yeah. So that way, no matter what I'm doing, and I want to pull the tripod, I'm not going to move that one. I have my other tripod over here. My camera's right here. So, and I'll put, like, in that little circle, I'll draw what it should be. And it's like, so 16 millimeters, it should be here. If it was going to be 30 millimeters, then I need to push the camera further away. If it's going to be 16 millimeters, then I can keep it closer. If I'm not using this, I can move this out the way. and stuff like that. And my office is a working office, so it ain't like Instagram pretty and all that extra other stuff. So it works. That's all I can say. Um, and I think I want my other light set up because it's like with the window, I could open it and open the blinds and all that or whatever, but then it's just I have this light in here. This ceiling light will probably go off because as bright as what you're seeing on the M50 or whatever, that could be fine if that's what you want when you sit down and you get ready to record. But since I'm doing it differently, I'm setting up a new RTE process, record to edit process, of what I want this to look like, so that I know once I separate my desks, I have two desks that I put together in an L-shaped desk. Once I separate, which I just have like a little latch underneath to connect it together. Once I unlatch it and I pull it back here, I have the desk marked at least. Now I know for where it's marked at. I'm trying to see, do I want this microphone? Do I not want it? So I got the angles right. I have what I want in the background on the camera, which if I want my laptop here, like kind of how I had in the last one, that's fine. What I didn't like about the last video is that it's too dark. I've tried experimenting with like the dark, moody kind of, I don't like it. I want my face to be still kind of bright. The background can be a little dark, but it's just like this super moody look. I don't like it. I've experimented with it. I've tried it. The last video to me was too dark. I prefer to see stuff. Like that's just my preference. So depending on what you're doing, when you set your own videos up, then you can do that. I'm gonna check the YouTube comments on my phone and see where we're getting some comments at. So I'll reply audibly to these. Let's see here. They need to do better with the YouTube app as far as showing you your stuff beforehand. All right, so let's see here. Positive Squad, good to see you. Lights ain't the best. Glad to be here. I think the second camera rocks in terms of lighting. Said, oh, perfect now. Okay, so what you were saying were, if it goes to like a little bit lower, like you just saw my hip and my side, that was just on the laptop camera. And then I have the M50 over here. And so for whatever reason, I think I hit the button. I couldn't see the screen on the M50. So unfortunately, I couldn't see what it was doing. So I needed to unhook it and reconnect it. But I had accidentally hit where it goes to the EVF. So I couldn't tell why it was so dark and stuff like that. So now it's just auto exposure. So it'll work fine as I adjust the lighting as I'm going to. So behind the scenes, I'm cool with that or what have you. So Nate Coiso Delce. I love your videos. Thank you so much. I'll just say Nat. Thanks so much, Nat. I appreciate it. All right, so we got that rolling. Okay, so again, my record to edit process is basically I need to set things up so that when I get ready to record, it's already set up. Like, so the next time I want to bring my desk back, and the last time, again, I was experimenting. Do I like that? Do I not like that? I'm using the kit lens because I want to dispel that kit lens are crap. I've done a ton of these, like almost the whole M50 for video series was done on the kit lens for the M50. You're watching it now on the kit lens on the M50. So the more that you adjust and dial your settings in, then you can see, and obviously you'll see the results as the videos come out, because these are just going to be a video for next week and then the week afterwards. So it's going to just be 2 videos I'm recording in this one. But kit lenses aren't crap, but you need to know their limitations so you can work within them. That way that you know what you're dealing with one way or the other. So I have my floor marked already at 16 millimeters because I am purchasing a prime lens so that I still get a blurry background and all of that. 35 is a little bit too far for this one. So now I know for my lens sizes, 35 is great if I'm up there, like how you usually would see with a podcasting microphone. But if I want to pull my desk back so that I can have access to using and showing my desk for demonstration, then I want a 16 millimeter. So again, that's why I said I love kit lenses, because it lets you know what you need to use versus just buying something like a 50 millimeter lens and then it's like halfway across the apartment. So next thing I want to do, honestly, I want to cut this ceiling light off, because once I put the camera there, then I'll be able to find out why my lighting, or not why, but where my lighting is shifting. All the lights on is not super helpful. So I want to start building the lights up. And I talked about this on a tip on Instagram, showing that. And so now you can see I got the background lights on the M50. You won't be able to see it adjust. So I got auto exposure on. Once I get the prime lens, the 16mm prime lens, this stuff will get blurrier than what it will be in these next couple videos. But this is going to give me the angle and dial and all that stuff. So now I can take my tripod and get this stuff put in and the camera set up. And then I'm going to get the lighting set up. So I also I haven't marked on here because it's black. I need a white Sharpie so that I can see on these legs. But on my other tripod that I could use, but I'm not going to because I like using these, it's just a gray one. And basically, if I could move this so you could see, I don't even know if you can see it, but on here is markings. It's too bright. On here is markings, but yeah, you can't see that well. So it says 35mm, 16mm, and all the different whatevers. So all the white markings on the floor will match up with the white markings on the tripod, so that when I get ready to set everything up, I don't have to think twice about where stuff is. I solely just go to the white mark. So now I need to figure out where my tripod is. I have the floor markings, but I need to kind of pay attention to the size. I'm going to go to the store and I got to eat later after I'm done with this. And I want to know where my stuff needs to be. So I have tripod markings on here for this tripod specifically. So I'm just putting it where it is on the floor. Let's see, back here. I think this is where it was at. Legs spread out a little bit more. Yep. So legs spread out all the way. That's where the tripod is supposed to be based on my markings. So now I want to bring in my camera, which I like these square ones. I use it for my phone. See, that's what I was saying, like the M50. I don't think I got it set up right, but it's going to be hard for me with this dark tripod. Like I said, I need a white Sharpie so that I know exactly where I need to tick this off at. So I can go like right here, and then I'll just write along the side, legs spread all the way out. But the markings on the floor will tell me though exactly where I need it to be. So one leg there, one leg there. I only really need to mark two legs. The third one kind of doesn't matter because it'll line up with the other two. So the desk has it written there, 16mm. So as long as it's right there, I'll get the same angle that I had last time. I'm going to hook this in. Usually I do have my power adapter hooked in for here. I don't want to show y'all what's happening on the floor cable-wise. We need some IKEA help cable management going on up in this piece. But it's basically just a power adapter that I can hit with my foot. I like a one-button press setup. So I'm going to take the battery out of here because the same thing that's hooking into the light, that's powering all this stuff, one button, push it with my toe, and it's going to work. So I can grab, if I can get past all of this extra stuff I didn't add it. All that means the power adapter for live streaming or for this shot. I have one Sony one for the M50 already right there. So all I need to do now is go to the tripod levels, go to the markers on the floor, plug it in, turn it on with my phone, turn on eCam, and then I'm good to go. So a one-button press system. I try to simplify stuff as much as possible. If y'all seeing that M50 drop back and forth, I don't know why it's doing that. So, like I said, I haven't used the M50 in a while, so I don't have the settings dialed in like I should. But we will roll with it nonetheless. Alrighty, so now, which I also need a new ball head tripod head. And doing this kind of stuff, honestly, will tell you where, and I'm going to try to cut this audio up on the thing so y'all can hear me better. Doing this kind of stuff in your setup, it'll let you know what lenses you need, what sizes, what's whatever's. That way, I hate when I get like coaching clients for video marketing I hate that they get so flustered with trying to figure this stuff out. That's why I came up with the record to edit process. The same way that you are setting up to record should help you with your editing. You should not be getting stressed out trying to sit down and do a video. I have over 115 list of video ideas. I'm just doing 2 of them today. This is just a list of like the recent stuff. If I want to record this stuff today, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten yet. I only have some coffee. I ain't had enough water yet. It's like I got things playing against me in my favor, nor not in my favor. Like, I want to remove as many barriers to recording as much as possible. This is not going to work for me. I don't think it may, but this is, again, this arm here for this microphone is set up for when I'm doing a live stream up there. So when I reconnect my desks, then I'll be able to just use this the same way. I don't know if I still want this because based on the shot that I see, you see a little bit of this arm coming in, and then you just see like a close-up kind of shot with me, which is fine. But now I want to kind of shift and move the camera. The good thing about the Amazon Basics tripod, and I'm going to check comments in just a second. The good thing about the Amazon, what's up, the real Tony? Good to see you. So over on the Engram. Good thing about the Amazon Basics tripod, though, is that, and I really don't want to knock things over. Oh boy. Hold your horses. Don't you even move. This is like Tetris in real life. What's going on, YouTube? All right, so y'all can see this is a better angle anyway. Like I was saying, like the markers, and I'll show Instagram, you'll catch it. So I'll show the markers, like that's, if I want to go to different stuff, I have it already here. Have it already marked on the leg, different little marks. So all the purple ones go together with the purple marks up here. All the green ones go together with the green marks down here. And what's good about this one is I can lock this in so I know exactly where the spread of the legs need to be. So, and then having this handle, I just put a, let me show y'all how bootleg I am. I just put a dry erase marker in here, so when I'm away from it, I could just take my finger and adjust the camera. I don't have that. That's why I said I need a new ball head tripod head for the this new tripod that I'm using, so I can still do that from a distance. Because I'm not going to get up and sit down and get up and sit down. That ain't where it's at. That ain't the work of the Lord, okay? Let's switch back to the M50 if it wants to participate this day. All right. So what you're seeing on YouTube right now, that's kind of the angle of what the camera is seeing. So now you can see it's going to be slightly different, but let's get my tripod back to where I had it. So let's go back there. All right. Okie dokie. So I wish y'all could see the back of the thing, and you probably could, but then I'd have to tilt everything down. Let's just not complicate it further. But here, let me take a quick video, and then I could show you it. And so basically, I need to figure out the angle. The microphone could probably stay there, but it's a USB microphone. So if I'm going to connect that into my camera, then I need to know what setup is really going to work for that. As far as XLR, I don't like to complicate stuff. I want to keep stuff extremely simple. So let me play back and I'll show y'all what this angle looks like. And you should be able to see that, hopefully. Get a little bit closer. But something like that, if you can kind of see some of that. Yeah, there we go. So that's the angle currently. So that's okay. And then I can always make it better. But done is better than perfect, right? So now, get my tripod where I want it. I don't like seeing the bareness on the, at best, I want like the edge of the bookshelf. So I'm going to make this move just a bit. And so since I'm not going to use this, I can take this off. So this is an extra added step. What I'm going to wind up doing is creating a solution for this. For me, what I do when I'm doing videos or coming up with stuff, which is how I come up with like hacks and tips and all kinds of stuff like that, depending on, like, I'm running into a problem. I'm going to note this and I'm going to solve this problem later. This is an XLR and USB microphone, which means the solution is here, which I already have it. I just don't want extra stuff on my desk. I need to convert USB, not USB really, but XLR to my camera in a simpler way, without adding extra stuff to my desk, which I already know what that answer is. But now I know I have a need for it versus just buying stuff because I saw it or somebody recommended it or whatever the case is. So what's going to wind up happening is this adapter that I got from, who's this, Comica? They have one for XLR. And so this lets me get headphone jacks, adjust the levels, and all that good stuff. So what I'm going to do is get the XLR version. So this can now sit, as small as like $30, $50 or something like that. I can now get XLR audio into my camera and keep the microphone there. So the solution is already there. I just now need to buy it, which will solve a problem for me unless I want to get something else. I technically already have something that I could use. It's just bigger, which is this over here. And if you saw my video where I was showing like the 2 to 4 person live streaming setup, I showed this Behringer 404HD, which lets you plug in XLRs, adjust everybody's audio, have a headphone, and all kind of connections and stuff like that. So I literally could set this right there, keep the microphone there, and keep it pushing. But this is bigger, slightly heavier. What if I want to take this on the go? Then what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, stationary, mobile, I'd rather go with something a little bit more mobile. So that's that. I ain't even picking it up. ain't going there. All right. So if y'all hear nonsense, have neighbors that are ignorant. All right, let's see here. So now I got the angle pretty much how I want it set up. And while I'm going to sit here for a minute, let me get the, what's the name? Let's go through some comments real quick. So John saying I had similar issues and ended up watching a video called Entire YouTube Studio Setup on one desk. Plus Ecamm is making life a lot easier. I can dig it. And I think, who is that? Caleb Pike for DSLR Video Shooter. He did the video about that, where, you know, you have everything hooked up. Only thing is, just like, I like that. I just got to come up with stuff that works for my setup, my office space. Like, are the arms going to be longer than the desk or extend out and be a little bit weirder? So that's the only thing, like, for me, I have to figure out what's going to work for my setup and for me. And I set the camera up and I kind of don't, it's okay, but I kind of don't like it now. So I got to adjust. So for what I can see, for what you're seeing on YouTube, even this, like, so doing stuff like this, find new angles. Obviously I don't want to use audio, so I'm about to hook in the, or audio like this, like off the camera. So I'm going to use the Rode Wireless Goes. Couple things, just make sure you don't have interference happening. Airplanes are constantly flying over, so I always have to make sure and check for that. I could use this if I wanted to monitor my audio or something like that. I'm not really that concerned because I've not had any challenges with it. So I'm going to slightly adjust my camera angle a little bit. I may move the tripod angle a little bit. I like having the bookshelves and then myself in there, but we'll see. And then we'll get the audio set up. So if y'all have questions about the what's, then feel free to ask away. And then two, this also lets me know all the things that are in my shot that shouldn't be in my shot or that look messy. Like I could probably remove that book bag, or I'm just going to at least flip the top down. But a blurry background, it kind of like at that point doesn't matter because this is a working office. I may, like the reason why I keep my bag there is so I can pick it up and I can go when I got to shoot that I got to do or something like that as I do in town. I don't have time to like, I don't know. Y'all let me know. I am real when it comes to like my setup. You see something in here, you see a sock, it's legit, okay? Come in here, I work, and I live my life. So I don't have time for it to always be pretty, which sometimes is good for, you know, blurring the background out because it don't always work. All right, let's get this set up here. Turn these on. All right. So from what I can see in the shot, we got a little bit of bookshelf over here. I have the book bag, which I'm just going to close the top down on, and then everything else should be good. Audio levels wise, it's too loud, so I'm going to turn that down. What you want with audio though is, let's try 5. The settings should be fine. I'm going to look at exposures and all that stuff in a second, and we'll talk about that, I suppose. So next, microphone, lapel options. Also, why I keep this back here, it's helpful. And I don't know if I want to add in this extra light yet. I probably will, just very low. So get that out, softbox that I'll add over there. So now I want to get a lapel microphone. Even though it's the Rode, I could hook it up here or what. It just looked tacky up there. You know what I'm saying? I guess you in a pinch, it'd be different if I had a shirt and I could, you know, click it here. That would just kind of look tacky to me. I could have it on the desk and just have it there, but with noise and stuff like that, neighbors, whatever, I want to go lapel, so that's the route. So we're doing here. Let's see here. I think we're going to go with the Purple Panda option, as if it is a fine wine. So it's a difference with lapel microphones. Some are condenser, picks up more noise around you, and then some are dynamic microphones, really good, but with a strong Sony preamp, a strong preamp for as the Rode wireless goes. I need something that's a little bit less. I don't need it like super strong audio. Different if, again, I hook it into something like this, which gives me an extra level to adjust the audio, then that's one thing. But if not, then it's just like, eh. So let me check comments while I'm getting hooked in here. Everybody coming out the woodworks right now. Adam, good to see you. Some keeping it 100 as always. John saying, love your videos, by the way. I think it's cool that you are bearing all, letting us watch you sort through this. No worries. The things I wish I could have seen getting stuff together. So it is what it is. You do what you got to do. And I do have on an undershirt, so I'm not worried. All right, feeding this through. And so with lapel microphones, even though it's still going to be up here, I don't need it to be. If I had on a collared shirt or something where I could have it right there, I would. You don't need to have it up here. Like, that's the difference with lapels. You could have it like somewhere down here or something, but then you see the cable. So it's just like, eh. Honestly, I'm thinking about, I think I'm going to do something different. Because even though that would work, I'm kind of annoyed with having a microphone right there already. It is the best thing audibly right now, but it's like my t-shirt is like right here. I don't like that. And so it's fine, but it's like I don't even have on like a sweater, it's too warm, or it could like hang on the lower lapel, so that's not going to work because I'm already annoyed with that. What I will do though, since these have a microphone on it, I'll do like I did the last time and just hook it on this phone tripod. Sit this out of the shot, but still close by, and it'll still pull in good audio. So about right there. Okay, can't see. And then let's look at lighting wise, it looks fine. It just is slightly dull, and I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is, since these operate off a remote, then I can function and operate both of these off of this remote. So I wouldn't have to get up and sit down, get up and sit down. Then once I get everything settled, I'll show you like how that record to edit process just kind of works in your favor. So I don't know if y'all be able to see me as I move over yonder. Should be, yeah, cool. Okay. Boy. So once I come up with the record to edit process, that's when I start buying gear, because then I'll know what I actually need to buy versus just buying stuff because I liked and watched a few YouTube videos. That already I can tell you is too bright, and then I want to know the temperature. So the temperature is going to let me know if it's too blue, if it's too cool, or is it orange and more tungsten and will be kind of warm. So right now, that's 71%, 4500. So that's group A, that's group B. So you can see I'm controlling the lights. So one is A, one is B. So this one that's flicking now, that's right here, is at 4500 kelvins, 71%. This one that I'm turning on now is at 55 kelvins, 57%. This is too close, and it's too bright. So I'm going to turn it down, and I'm going to put this softbox light. This is by Defuse. Let's see here. The reason why I like these is because of how fast you're seeing me put this together. Seconds. And these will work with anything. They have square ones, or you could use whatever, but the throw will be softer because it's bigger versus than if it was just a square. So that's why I went with the circular ones. And then I'm going to move this back and turn it down. So we'll see what the lights need to be at. Alright, so now I can get this out the way. And even, I could even take, if I wanted to use a shotgun microphone, bring that even closer if I wanted to. We'll see. I would do a test with the audio, but I've already tested the audio with this. I know that that's okay for the audio levels that I have it at. Let's see here. So, Adam, you're asking or saying, why do they spell a blurry background as bokeh, as if bouquet? Bokeh or bokeh, I don't know. The same reason why they come up with a lot of weird stuff in photography and, cinematography. Who knows? Weird. Instead of just calling it a blurry background, they gotta have a name for it. All right, so brightness-wise on the camera, the ISO is too high, which it would make sense for me to connect with this via Wi-Fi on the app now, so that I can see. Oh, okay. Somebody asked a good question. Okay, and then when we go to Adam, and then I'll go to Supreme Gecko. Said, I feel like you are a proponent of David and Lourdes at LSP, Diana. This is very interesting, a little over my head, but still interesting. Well, if you have any questions about anything, let me know. Um, I've watched them for a while. I like them. I can't say I've fully been a student of them because I have my own opinions about things, but I love them just the same. And I have been following them for a lot. So people want to ask, or Supreme Gecko is asking, could you see the softbox fit on the light? Yes. Let's turn that off so that we don't blind ourselves. All right. So real quick on the back, since it's a square, even though that this is square, it's bigger than what that actually is. So they give you 4 straps, because if you have barn doors, then it'll fit really good. But you want to do something like this so it can just kind of sit in there. It's extremely light, so I have it in this shape. So when I bring it on the panel, I'm going to take it and just drape it over it. And that's it. So that's literally all it is to it. I'll get that chair out the way. And then that's it. So it just sits like this. So if you want to bring it up, down, or whatever the case is, you can. It won't affect it any. So let's bring this up. Oops. Let's take this cable out of the way. Alright, bring this up. If I needed to tilt the light down, which I probably might need to, it comes with these little things, which is helpful, so I could just kind of like tilt it and get the angle that I need to instead of just having it straight out. So that's what I'm going to do now, since I need to move the light and kind of control where it's going. And then we'll turn it on and see how that goes. So with light, the thing with light to know in its simplest form, what is it doing? What is that light doing? I have this this window closed and all of that. So now I just need to figure out, so now you can see I got this where it will just tilt that down some a little bit. So that's the thing with lighting. Before, the ceiling light is off. It looks pretty bright on the camera, but the ceiling light is off. I have, this one, that one, that background light, which is not doing a whole bunch. But I just want to know, what is the light doing before I hit record so that it's not extremely bright or whatever. I just kind of want to pay attention to what all these different sources are doing versus turning everything on. You want to build your light up. And lighting is far more important than the camera, and then the lens is more important than the camera, and then you buy the camera. So now, move this on. So let me throw this on it. So now I can control what it does, whether I want it on or off. I can adjust the temperature to make it cooler or warmer, which you probably aren't seeing it that well on the M50 because it's adjusting the automatic white balance. But on the Sony, I can see it. So that's cooler. So brightness-wise, I want to turn that down. Especially once you get it bigger and softer, you don't need as much. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to adjust the kelvins, which is the temperature, how warm or cool it is. Move this over here. And I think I want my tripod up some. Just so I don't cut my head off. And I do need a different ball head tripod. That much I do know. Alrighty. So ISO now is set to 1250. That's really bright. I want to turn that down. So same thing. I kind of about know where my settings need to be, but if you don't, let's start at, because it's a kit lens, let's start at like 500 for the ISO, which it's saying it's perfectly exposed, but it's too dark for my liking. So I'm going to say, tell the camera what it needs to do. But before I sit down, I'm going to connect to the internet on, or just the app on my phone. So let me check the comments real quick before I do that. Thank you, that helps. I have the same lighting set up basically, so I will look into that softbox. Cool. I'm glad that it's helpful for you. And then we have Adam saying, oh, I know what I want to ask. You know how there's a smartphone app for the Canon M50? I have tripods that come with Bluetooth devices to start and end recording on smartphones. Is there anything like that for the Canon camera? I'd end up dropping the iPhone if I use that as a remote when vlogging. Not that I'm aware of. We getting issues on the Instagram. All right, so not that I'm aware of. As far as tripod wise, yeah, I'm not sure as far as that's concerned. Yeah, I don't think so. I'd venture to probably just say no with that. Said, are you filming on your M50? I'm sure you already mentioned this earlier, but I just joined. No, I actually didn't say that. I'm filming on the Sony a6400 and the kit lens. And then this that you're seeing this on is on the M50. And then on Instagram is on the phone. She switched to Sony, not sure what model, I forget. A6400 has the flip up screen and all of that. You can see it. All right, now we're at the point, which is taking me longer than the 15 minutes it may take to do this, but I'm talking and all of that too. So now I have the height where I want it, the tripod where I want it. The lighting I can adjust once I sit down, temperature-wise, brightness-wise. Ceiling light is off. I don't need that because I have two softbox lights that will give me more than enough coverage for what I want for my look that I'm going for. So I'm starting at ISO 500 just as a base level, and I want to see what happens. I don't know if this will work. I just need to see what's going to happen at about 500. Why 500 instead of 1,000? Because 1,000, it was at 1250 from whatever I was doing the last time, and that was too high, so I don't want to use that. I'm at, 30 frames per second, so the shutter speed is at 60, so it's your typical news anchor, whatever kind of stylistic look, YouTuber look, I guess. You could do 24 if you want to. It doesn't matter. It's just preference at that point. Okay, so let's connect to the app, and then I'll try to keep up with the phones. So just a remote. Oh, there is a plastic little remote that you can control your cameras with to start and stop recording. Or you could just use an old phone if you got an old smartphone, which is what I'm using for Instagram. You can do that if you want to, but I like keeping stuff simple, if that makes sense. So, all right, now let's go over to the imaging app, which Sony needs to do a better job, for sure. I think I'm in airplane mode on my camera, so I need to change that. In airplane mode, depending on what camera you have, if you have that, that'll save on battery life if you need to. Not that I would need to because I'm hooked into the wall outlet, but let's see here. My menu settings on your camera are fantastic for getting back and forth to your most commonly used ones. And it's like most people, like I've been asked, oh, well, can you tell me what you're using, what's on your menu setup? And it's like, if you're not in this space, it's like it may not matter. Like you want what's going to work for you, not what's working for me, and then to duplicate that, and then you're like, well, why does my image suck? It's like you didn't customize it for your settings or your use or your annoyances. What bothers you? What bugs you? I hate to not be able to change my audio real quick. I need to be able to do that. So that's one of my quick get-to ones, frames per second or whatever. And then depending on your camera too. So that's always different. All right. Still didn't do it. It's hard standing right here. It's a weird angle. Smartphone. Where's my thingy bob? So I just reset my camera. I was supposed to do a video on it, but I didn't. So I reset it for nothing other than to deal with one issue I was having. Oh, control the smartphone. Here we go. Couldn't figure out how I can find the connection. Alright, connect. Or is this for? Should be fine. No. Alright, let's do this. So it should have it saved. I don't know, maybe I need to redo it. But it has this little QR code reader on here. So we'll see. Close it and then reopen it. Scan QR code. Like I said, it honestly don't take all of this. It's just being extra, getting the initial setup done, and all that good mumbo jumbo. Okay. Alright. And I think we pretty much are there. And so what helps when you are using your app on your phone for video and stuff like that, turn your brightness on your phone up so that you can actually see what the camera is seeing, because you don't want to be adjusting ISO based on like the resolution on your phone screen, because if that was the case, it'd really be too dark, because I keep my stuff down low. Brightness wise, it's fine. Even though it's automatic white balance, for this, it's fine. Close this down. Alright, so if I'm sitting here, my head is right at the top. So that should be fine. ISO 500. It is saying that it's slightly underexposed. So before I change the settings on the camera, I want to adjust my lighting. So I have, again, so this one's at 41%. Take notes of what I got right now. I forgot I have my mouse over here. This is at 41%, 5,000 kelvins, and then that's A for the left light. Because one of the things that's cool about these Viltrox light, I can change it so that they both come on and off at the same time. But since I don't use this second one all the time, I'm thinking about putting something up so I can swing the arm out when I need it and put it away when I don't, because I'm getting some more of these. So I can be like, okay, turn light 1 on, turn light 2 on, turn that one off, and control them individually. Or like when I was doing this shoot in Iowa, I could turn them both down at the same time, turn them both up at the same time. So it's just a matter of what you want. So that's on that one. And then B, light B is at 71%, and it's at 4,500 kelvins. So that's we'll call that the desk light. And all of this is part of the record to edit process. So I don't want it to be different temperatures. That much I do know. So I want to change, I would say, to the 5,000 kelvins, which is just going to be if it's orange or bluish looking. So if I go to this other light, let's change that brightness to, and honestly, we can turn it up so that that's a little bit brighter, because this one I don't need any brighter than what it is. So let's turn the temperature to 4,500, and then that also affects your skin tones as well. So like if you notice you're looking too pale, it may not be all the time like settings on your camera. It could be that you honestly have your lighting off, because if your lighting is weird, it's a real cheap light, it's not doing that great, it's gonna look like trash either way. And what you wind up doing is like you look sick, like skin wise, skin tone wise. You're like, oh man, color science is just like, no, check your lights, check your lights. Okay, so now I'm gonna mark my settings and what stuff is. I'll get a Sharpie when I go out. Maybe today, if I can find one, a white Sharpie or something like that. So my 16 millimeter on the lens, and then I'll figure out what the background blur, what I want it to be once I get a prime lens for it. So now, which is like, I guess, I said it was going to be behind the scenes, just showing you how to record. I haven't even started recording the videos yet. So if you got to hop off, I get it. Because this is going to be super long stream on YouTube, Instagram. I'm going to cut off in a minute. So from what I can see on my phone, I don't mind it being what I'm seeing in the frame. I can see this microphone. So I want to move that out of the way. So just crazy because it was right there. All right, so we'll have that microphone there. I may do a shotgun microphone for that in a second and just have it on the desk. What's cool with these power zoom lenses, like if you get a Panasonic camera, or Canon don't have power zoom lenses, unfortunately. Like I could zoom in just the smidge that I need to. So now I'm at, just went from 16 to 23 in the zoom. That's too close, but I can also make it wider. So the Panasonic app has this. I don't know if Canon even have any power zoom lens. I don't think so. So I'm gonna take that back out, and that gets me the image that I want. My head may be slightly cut off, but I don't care about that. I could raise the tripod up some, which I may do, and that's fine. So zooming in though, changed my aperture to an f4.0 on the camera with the settings that I currently have. So my ISO is at 500, f4.0, 30 frames per second, 60 on the shutter speed. What I want to do is now checking my exposure. It's still saying I'm slightly underexposed, which is just low enough that I could adjust the lighting just a little bit. Let's do brightness up to, just until I see that number change, and I can bring this one up over here. Let's brighten that one up. Not seeing it change yet. All right. But then too, if it starts taking away from the look that I want, I don't care what the camera say. So from what I see, that's good. I don't want a bunch of shadows with, like, if I raise my arm, it's just like big shadow. I don't want that. This is okay. Once I get, again, a prime lens, blurry background is going to work. So now I mark my settings. So 16 millimeters for, it's just called the tripod, Triopo. Yeah, that's what it's called, Triopo tripod. My settings are 30 frames per second. Obviously, that'd be a 60 shutter speed. The aperture is going to affect the brightness, so I will need to change that later. So again, y'all watch me literally go from stuff everywhere to now I'm dialing in the settings for the look that I want, that you'll see over the next 2 weeks in these videos. And then once I get the prime lens in, then it'll be a blurrier background. But the lighting can stay the same. Those numbers may change, but they maybe not. But more than likely they will, because as I increase or decrease the aperture, make it like an f2.8 or something like that, and the background gets blurry, that's going to bring that lighting way up. So now it went from being like normal to like super overexposed. Then my temperatures may change. But as of right now, on what I have, that's going to be at an f4.0. I think I have it at like instead of a 16, which would mean if I just have a prime lens, I just need to scoop the tripod closer. So now my markings on the floor might change. If I have a good prime lens, not a good prime lens, a good zoom lens, it's like an f2.8. Then I changed that from being 16 to just maybe like a 19 millimeter, which I did find one locally here in St. Louis. So we'll put like a 16 to 19 millimeter is about this setup. F2.8 is probably the amount of background blur that I want. And then the temperature, not the temperature of the lights, those will stay the same. But as far as the brightness, like, so one is at, now let's get the new numbers. So we got 500 for the ISO as far as the lights are concerned on the camera. So light A is actually this light over here. That is at, yeah, good. So light A is at 61% strength as far as brightness, 4,500 kelvins. As far as the temperature, light B, which is at 86%, because that's further away, which is this one over here. So you can see that's coming on, coming off. So that's at 86%, that's over there. So it's fine if that's a little bit brighter because it's not on my face. Both still have those softbox light, and that's still at 4,500 kelvins. So now I know what my numbers are. So my record to edit process, when I get ready to record here, if I want this look for this kind of a setup, which I'm probably going to bring that lens out. So anywhere from 16 to 19 millimeters will give me the look that I want. It will also give me the amount of stuff in the frame that I want. It will also, give me just all the stuff. So now I know my numbers. Let me mark these off. These are no longer good. So this is about what I'm working with. I'll mark the tripod up later. I can change the floor, which if you have I think these are like linoleum floors or something, or laminate. Not linoleum, laminate. I think that's right. I don't know. Fake wood floors. I use a Sharpie because you can just use like traditional rubbing alcohol, and that will clear up whatever stuff for on the floor. So that's why I don't mind marking it up, and it won't mess it up. Okay, so now I'm at the point, literally an hour later, hour and a half later. So my videos that I want to do. So I don't need these things anymore. Can kind of put this out of the shot, or whatever would be aesthetically pleasing, I guess. It don't matter. That's fine. All right, so now I got my topics, my 2 video topics that I want. I do want to put some more Carmex on because chaplets and video should be illegal. Automatic white balance. I usually, once I get the lens that I want, I'm not worried about it for these 2 videos that I'm about to do. I do want to set the white balance, so I know exactly what that number needs to be too. And then I'll save that as a custom setting on the Sony, since we have picture profiles. So I can go to picture profile, custom profile number 2, and that's the one for this setup. And then I'll have one for the live streaming, which I already do. And then that's the setting. And so I never need to change that stuff again. I can just jump to those specific settings. All right, so now I'm getting ready to record. Let me grab this last of the Hebrews. What's it? It's not the Hebrews. Last of the Mohicans. Where did the Hebrews come from? I'm like, I cut this mug. I'm like, I need some Carmex bad. And I'm out. So I had to hack it. Cut that mug open. All right. So now, start recording. A little water. All right. So if you have any comments, questions, whatever, then grab those later. Let's see here. Let's pull up my document. I don't do scripts. I just do what I know I want to say. Like I'll have bullet points. So let's go to my notepad. And let me turn my ringer off. And so help me if I get a call. Yeah, you get to going and stuff and just be like, man, look. Video ideas. What's today's date? March what? 7th. Where is my notepad thing that I had done today? Or for today's video? My bad, y'all. And I am recording. I just need to get my life together and figure out where this is. Video ideas. Nope. I'm gonna punch a duck if I can't get this sorted out. All unplugged. I'd be mad if I can't find this. Where's my notes? You gotta be kidding me. Where? Alright, so since I can see my computer, what I can do is bring my notepad up on my what's the name, and pull this over here and just make it big on my what's the name, and that'll work still fine. Expand. Alright, and I can see some comments over here. Supreme Gecko saying I have to run, but wanted to say thank you for the great content. Love the M50 videos, very helpful. My pleasure. My pleasure. Adam, you saying I didn't even know cameras had airplane mode. Yeah, definitely. Alright, so let's move this over here. Our 2-year cameras record videos. That's what it's gotta be called. Record videos. Alright. Just trying to find this thing. Refresh. Is it because it's in? No, it's not in airplane mode. Well, you know what? I don't have time to waste on this. I'm going to just roll with what I got because I'm wasting time here. And I'm hungry and I want Qdoba. So, yeah. Alright, so, that get on my nerves. Shoot. Alright, so I'm already recording. Okay, so first video, are 2-year-old cameras too old to buy? Alright, so... And like I said, I just do bullet points because I already know what I want to say. I just need to make sure that I have it together. Alright. Alright, so since I've been rolling for like 4 minutes, I'm going to stop that and then I'll start it over. Okay, so this video is our 2-year-old cameras too old to buy. Okay, you're about to see me and my juice. All right. So are you looking for a new camera that you want to buy, but maybe it's kind of out of the budget? Well, are 2-year-old cameras really too old to buy? Because technology is moving fast, but does that mean that these cameras that just came out in 2018 are no longer good? In this video, I'm going to be going through some of the things that I look through when I'm looking at an old camera. Is the price right? Is it worth it for the features? And is it just kind of like a steal that we're just overlooking for some reason? So we're going to be talking about it coming up next. All right, so that's one variation that I want to do. Another variation would be something else. All right. So this is second intro, depending on which one I like better. Okay. Y'all making me nervous. I just want to say that. Okay, second intro. So technology moves fast. One of the things I've noticed is that as a new camera comes out, YouTubers, me included, we like to buy new cameras soon as they come out. New features, new specs, and a lot of problems that we had with previous models are now being solved. But it actually poses the question for if you're just getting started in video, and that's if the camera's about 2 years old, even 3 years old, is it too old to buy? So we're going to be talking about it in this video and some of the things that I like, don't like, and would recommend to you if you're new to video, and we're going to be talking about it coming up next. All right, so I like the second one better. So I usually do like 2 variations of it depending on what I like more. So, all right. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Diana here with Untitled TV, helping you move your vision forward using video. And on this channel, I help you simplify the video creation process with video marketing tips, as well as tips like what we're talking about today, where it's kind of more techy and a little bit more nerdy. So if that's something that you're into, definitely consider subscribing. So about 2 years ago in 2018, there were a bunch of cameras that came out. You had the Fuji X-T3, you had the Nikon Z6, you even had the Canon M50, which I have talked about a ton on this channel, and the Canon R, which we'll leave alone for the sake of this video. However, those cameras are technically old as far as technology is concerned, but does that mean that they're really bad? Are they trash and just kind of like a waste of money if you buy a camera like that in 2020 or even 2021? Or are these kind of like hidden gems? So in this video, I want to talk about a few things that I think we should be paying attention to for some of these older cameras, and if they're even worth buying, or if it could be potentially a waste of money. All right, so tip number 1, limitations. All right. So the fact is that some of these older cameras, as they are obviously older by okay, I messed it up. What's the word I was trying to say? By, what is it? I can't think. Whatever it is, I'll have to find a new word. By definition. That's what I was trying to say. Okay. So by definition, these cameras are old. If it's 2020, 2021, you're looking at a 2018 camera. Technically, as far as technology is concerned, yes, they're old, but are they really trash? So some cameras that came out, like I said, the Fuji X-T3, the Canon M50, the Canon EOS R, and things like that. And these are amazing cameras in their own right for different reasons, made for different people. But here's the thing, they all have limitations. So I just want to list off a couple, because every camera, obviously, it has its own quirks, but at the same time, are these limitations, later on we'll find out, is it like a real problem and just like don't touch it, or if it's that big of a deal? So when we look at the Canon M50, camera I've covered extensively here on the channel, and a camera that I honestly love. It's a camera that is sometimes weird. You look at the 4K options, it crops in really crazy in 4K, and then it just, it doesn't autofocus like at all. And there's a 30-minute recording limit, which to Canon, in their defense, they've always done 30-minute recording limits. So that's not too bad. But at the same time, it has kind of like weak ISO exposure issues. Like, it doesn't do that well in lower lit situations. And I don't mean like going out in the park at nighttime and it's just like one street light. Like, but just indoor shots like this. If you want to use a kit lens and stuff like that, am I forced to have to buy a better lens because of this, ISO issue, or like, what's the deal? So that's, a thing. When you have cameras like the Canon R or the Nikon Z6, it's really these major companies' first installation into full-frame cameras, and neither one of those cameras had dual card slots. So professionals or amateurs or people that are just like prosumers, so to speak, they wanted dual card slots, and these cameras didn't have them. So now we're stuck with cameras that, again, are limited and have some crippling features, but in their own right, again, they're pretty okay. And then lastly, I'll mention, you have Sony and Fuji, which do an amazing job when it comes to video, which is what I primarily focus on here on the channel. But you had the Fuji X-T3 that is, by just definition, an amazing camera. I think anybody who's anybody, whether it's photography or cinematography, videography, YouTubing, it doesn't matter. Everybody can agree this camera is amazing. Is, not was. It is amazing. And so even with the Fuji X-T4 recently coming out, everybody's kind of looking at the X-T3 like, is it outdated now? Is it trash now? Because it doesn't have a flip-out screen. It doesn't have IBIS or built-in in-body image stabilization. And the battery life was kind of weak, and the autofocus was questionable. Same thing kind of with Sony, except for the autofocus, which is industry-leading. The A7 III, 30-minute recording limit, which Fuji has some weird recording limits too. But the Sony A7 III, it had where it's a 30-minute recording limit. It's not the leading industry autofocus that Sony has now, but it's still amazing. And then you had sometimes very few overheating issues. So those are some concerns when it comes to like all of these different models that came out in 2018 and whether or not it's a problem. So those are some limitations when it comes to like these cameras. Like, really look at Are these part of your non-negotiables? Like it has to have the latest and greatest autofocus. It has to have, 4K with amazing autofocus. Because all of them do something right, and then every brand still kind of does something wrong. So when you're looking at the limitations of an older camera, you really want to find out what's most important to you versus just what you're finding online or on YouTube, simply just because somebody's reviewing a camera. Okay, so let's talk about the next limitation. So across the board, most of nearly all of these cameras have one limitation in common, and that is a 30-minute record limit. Okay, I bit my tongue. That hurts. Oh gosh, why? All right, let's try that again. So one of the common limitations that all of these cameras have across the board is a 30-minute recording limit. Now, up until last year when Sony came out with the Sony a6400, which I'm recording this video on right now, Panasonic as well, because we haven't talked about Panasonic, but we'll get to them. They're the only ones that, didn't have a recording limit. So up until Sony came out, every other brand, minus Panasonic, had recording limits. And like Fuji has sometimes where it's 15 minutes, and then sometimes where it's 30 minutes. And then nearly everybody else at least had a 30-minute record limit. So unfortunately, if you are wanting to do long-form video content, long-form video podcast, and not have to worry about did the camera cut off on me or not, or, really capture, maybe it's a service, a wedding, and it could be like not necessarily professional work, but just more something that's closer to home and important to you, you'd have to deal with that recording limit. So up until 2019, other than Panasonic, though that was the only company doing it, but then Sony came out with the a6400, and every camera that they've come out with since has no recording limits. Small caveat, the Sony a6100, which is their like new entry-level camera, that still has a 30-minute record limit. So when you're looking at an older camera, just know if video is important to you, which is probably why you're here on this channel in the first place, watching this video, 30-minute record limit is going to be a common across the board issue when it comes to any of these brands, minus Panasonic. And I'll talk about this in a later dedicated video, but I honestly, in 2020, moving forward, I can't recommend a Panasonic camera. Even though I have loved them and I have bought plenty of their cameras, the G7, the G85, the GX8, and I promise I love those cameras and they're amazing and probably some of the best when it comes to video, but I cannot recommend it for beginners when it comes to video. So just understand the limitations, recording limits minus Panasonic, but that's something that you're going to experience with a 2-year-old camera in this day and age. All right, so that's that one. And I'll be able to get to comments as soon as I'm done with this one. All right. So the next reason why you probably want to consider a camera that's from like 2018, even 2017, is the fact that the price is going to be amazing. You have cameras that range anywhere from like $450 to $600, like the Canon M50, or you have some of the more prosumer, higher prosumer level cameras like the Z6, Fuji X-T3, the Sony a7 III. Those cameras are running from, honestly, sometimes you can find them for like $800 or $900 on the used market like you would with the Fuji X-T3, all the way up to like $1,200 or $1,300. So when you compare the price to a new camera that just came out or the most recent model and it's a $2,000 price tag, you're going to save a few $100s that could get you a few lenses that you want, to get you some additional memory cards. And so when you're counting the cost of getting involved in video and you're wanting to step into mirrorless but still have some really good options, I honestly think for the price, a camera that's about 2 years old is going to be one of the best options that you consider. Now, when you get into later models, you're really starting to talk about, or anything like from, honestly, 2017 on back, then you're looking at something that is really good in price. It's going to be amazing, but you're looking at even more limitations than some of the things that we talked about. But price-wise, absolutely, hands down, this is going to be the best reason that you want to get involved in mirrorless and video. And I think this is probably going to be one of the better ways to do it, simply because the price can't be beat. Okay, so that's that one, and we're wrapping up. Let's see here. Okay, so let's add in, before we get to this last part, okay. So when it comes to used cameras and really finding the best price, most people will go to Amazon first, but you have other camera companies like B&H Photo Video, and you also have like Adorama, KEH.com. And I've worked with and bought stuff from all of these different camera companies, and all of them work fine. And the thing that kind of makes it better than Amazon, you know, if you or I or somebody that we know are selling a camera, we don't have, you know, reviews and stuff like that. We don't have a 30-day process of returns, or, you know, it's just like, so you want to add some kind of buffer of protection in between there. And so Amazon is fine. You do get a 30-day return period if you do buy something, but the chances of it potentially having an issue, like I bought a lens that was a really nice lens, spent like $400 on it, and as soon as I took the lens cap off, the face of the lens fell off. So that's some things to take into consideration. If you're buying something used on Amazon, they can kind of finagle the wording, but when you deal with a camera company that's selling something used, then at that point you have not just some additional layers of protection there, but you also have where they have verified and they know what things to look for. They know like the industry like the back of their hand. And so I actually did a video where I walked you through from like finding and searching and researching it online to the purchasing of a used camera, and what that process would be like, and stuff that I've used to get over a dozen cameras used in like new and brand new quality. And so if you want to check that video out, I'll put a link down in the description as well as in a YouTube card up above. Okay, so that's that one. And then last point here. All right, so last point. And so finally, worst case scenario, what's the biggest problem with these cameras? And honestly, it's just going to be small annoyances. And that's honestly what it kind of bogs down to, is small annoyances. So are these cameras bad? No, not by any means. Like, these were, at the time that they were coming out, some of the best cameras that could be offered by any one of these specific brands. So if it's just about 2 years old, maybe there's 1 to 2 models in between, since cameras are coming out about once every year now, or every other year for some brands. You're still getting one of the latest and greatest cameras. You're just not getting the absolute latest and greatest camera. So if you can deal with some small annoyances like a recording limit that may potentially have some hacks available for it, like with the M50, or if you're really looking at something like a battery life issue, can you get around that with a power adapter? Maybe it has USB charging like the Sony a7 III does, even though the battery is really good in that one, but you know, maybe it has something like USB-C charging that you can get around with it. But it's really just going to be these small annoyances, and knowing for yourself, if you're just getting off work, you're just, you know, putting down hashtag the kids, then are you going to have the energy to deal with these small annoyances, and is it going to get in the way of you making better videos? And so you really just want to be able to ask yourself, what are your non-negotiables? What are some of the things that you cannot live without? Is a recording limit actually going to be an annoyance, or is it like a legit, like it's a non-negotiable? For me, recording limit, unlimited recording limits in video, it's a non-negotiable. It absolutely has to have it. I'll pay extra for the lenses, which is why I went to Sony. I'll pay a little bit more for the batteries or whatever the case is to have access to that feature, because as somebody that primarily does videos, I don't want to be capped at, you know, having a great conversation, capturing a candid moment, and then the camera cuts off because it reached the 30-minute record limit. So for me and what I'm doing specifically, not just like quick YouTube videos, but that's really something that's important. But maybe if you're just doing 5 to 7 minute videos, it's not that big of a deal. So know what your non-negotiables are and some of the things that are important to you, or what's really going to work for you. So hopefully this video helps you out. And if it did, let me know down below, what is your #1 feature that your camera has to have and that you're looking for in potentially a used camera. But with that, my friends, live with passion, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace. All right, so that's one video down. So 16 minutes, raw recording, pauses in between. And then I may, like when I'm doing a video like that and I'm recording something, I'll cut some stuff out. if it feels repetitive, if it feels like I'm not getting to the point, or something like that, or if it's just not extremely valuable. Maybe I repeated myself, or something. Again, like I don't like. I think about the person on the other end. Is repeating this an annoying thing, or whatever the case? Like what's the problem? What's the deal? Blah blah blah. So we'll re-up on some Carmex. Let's check some questions real quick. So says no connection. Why not? So I think I can see it over here though. Let's see here. I don't think so. I don't think I got no questions. Said I liked your smile in number 2. So let's see here. So that must be the second intro. I don't know why I don't have. Oh, I know why. Because I'm connected to the Wi-Fi app, so it can't be connected to regular Wi-Fi. Amazing discoveries happening in life right now. So one of the cool things with Sony is, so I've stopped and started the app, but once you connect to it once, which I said, like I restarted my camera a couple weeks ago. Once you connect it up once, it's just one button press. So I don't have to keep getting up and going back to the thing to do it. Settings are exactly what they are. I could change them if I needed to. So next video, which is going to be the second video, and then we'll wrap this up. So again, if y'all have questions, I can check it in between. But once I start the video, then probably not. So this is going to be the next one, talking about this lens, which is my favorite. And I'll leave it on there. Like this. All right. All right. Start recording. Okay, so this video, the best cheap prime lenses for the Canon 50. All right. Let's get this angle about right. I did not have enough water in that cup to save a duck. All right. So are you looking for a prime lens that could kind of boost your quality in your videos from what you've been using, which may be, a kit lens that you got with the camera? Well, in this video, I'm going to be talking about my absolute favorite prime lens that I found that works for Canon cameras, and it actually has an additional hack working with the speed booster. So if you want to get that blurry background, but you're kind of on a budget and you want it for under $100, I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite lens, the Yongnuo 35mm f2.8 lens in this video, and we're going to be talking about it coming up next. All right, so that was pretty good. I don't need to redo that one. All right, so point number 1. All right. Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to UntitledTV. My name is, no, not that. Okay. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Diana here with UntitledTV, and on this channel, I help you move your vision. No, dang. Okay, let's try it again. All right, so I'm holding my hands up so I can know to chop off what was in front of there. All righty. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Diana here with UntitledTV, and on this channel, I help you move your vision forward using video. So if you're having issues simplifying that video content creation process, and you just don't have time to try to figure out all the ins and outs, maybe consider subscribing, because I talk about tech tips like I'll be digging into today, as well as video marketing tips, so that may be helpful for you. Consider subscribing. Okay. Price. Let's do problem first. All right. Got a bunch of noise going on above me. I hate having neighbors, I swear. Little noises piss me off. All right. Problem. Okay. Okay. All right. Y'all throwing me off, I swear. Okay. All right, I'm ready. Ready to do this. Hopefully my elbows ain't ashy. I'm gonna keep them down because I don't know. We gotta check. Slightly. Okay. Okay. Point number one, the problem. Okay. So I think kit lenses are great. Actually, what you're looking on right now is a kit lens that I like for the Sony a6400. And there's nothing wrong with these lenses. It just doesn't give you the blurry background that you may want in your videos, which honestly, I think some of everybody wants and they like. However, when it comes to the prices of some of these prime lenses, and real quick, if you're not familiar, a zoom lens means that it moves from like 15 all the way to 45 millimeters. So it can be pretty wide to zoom in and being pretty close. But a prime lens means it's only one number on there and it's only one size. So when you pop that lens on your camera, it's stuck at whatever that is. You got to zoom with your feet and move the camera closer to you or further away, depending on what look that you want. So just if you're not familiar with that, that should help. So you may say, why buy a prime lens versus a zoom lens or whatever? And that's because you can get the blurry background. Typically the glass that's in the lens is going to be sharper than typically the plasticky type frame and all that kind of stuff, and the glass that's in the lens on a kit lens or something like that. So that's why prime lenses are really, really good. So you want a blurry background, you can't get that on a prime lens or a zoom lens or a kit lens for real. So you got to get a prime. And some of the best ways to do that is probably something like, especially Canon, the nifty 50. Now that's a 50 millimeter lens, and the number and how small it is will depend on how wide it is, and then the bigger that number, if it's 85 or 45 or 50, will actually be closer in, if that makes sense. So 35 is actually a really nice in-between kind of a number. It's not too close and it's not too far. So if you're recording in small spaces like I am, then a 35 actually works better for me than a 50 millimeter lens. So most people kind of recommend that, and I think those run for about $195 over on Amazon, and I'll link everything down in the description down below. But a 35 millimeter I found worked better for me, which is why I'm talking about this lens. I've had this lens now for about 2 years, and that means it has had its wear and tear on it, and it has held up. And surprisingly, I got this lens for about $85, and it sells now on Amazon for about $95. It's still very similar to the Nifty 50 as far as it being a budget-friendly lens, get you a nice blurry background without breaking the bank. But then too, you don't have to have your camera set all the way across the room like I did with a 50 millimeter, especially if you're recording in small spaces. So power tip here is that if you're recording in your living room, dining room, or whatever the case is, maybe a park, you want a nice prime lens. I would say start with 35 and then decide if you need something that's closer or if you need something that's further away. If you need something that's further away, maybe check out like a 22 millimeter lens or something like that. And that f2.0, whatever that f number is, if it's 2.0 or 2.8 or smaller, like 1.4 or 1.8, that's going to give us the blurry background. So just some, quick educational points there. But let's talk about what really makes this thing shine. All right, so we got that there. Is this going to be a quick video? The price. Airplane. Weight. That's why it's nice to record at night sometimes. Nobody's moving. No planes. All right. Okay. So what makes this lens shine is actually the price. For about $95, sometimes $85, depending on where you find it used or something like that on Amazon. But for about $95 on Amazon, you can get this lens. It has pretty good autofocus. It has the little switch on there. And the best thing about this is it's not fit for the M50. So if you take and just apply the lens straight onto the camera, it's not going to fit. You need an adapter. But this is actually made for like the full frame cameras that Canon has. So like things like your Canon, not the R, because that's a whole nother different mount, so it won't fit that. Something like the 60 Mark II, something like the, let's just say 60 Mark II, let's stick with that. That's a full frame camera by Canon, and it'll fit that. But on the M50, you can get an adapter, But you can also get something like this, and this is the Viltrox Speed Booster. And I've done a video about that, so I'll link that up above if you want to check that out. But it has this glass element in there because, like I said, if you got a 50mm lens, it's going to be real close, like real close. And so you get this speed booster, and what it does is it takes this 35mm lens, and now it makes it something like a 20-something millimeter lens, potentially. But you got crop factor and all that, and I don't want to dig into the math too much, but just know it has, like, the M50 has a 1.6, or crop sensor cameras in general, typically has a 1.6 crop. So I'm going to put the math up here because I'm not doing that in this video real time. So we have 35mm times a 1.6, like the M50 have, gives you something about like a 56mm true focal length. That's still pretty close. It's not bad, but it's still pretty close. So once you add this speed booster on here, that's a 0.71 magnification, I believe it is, which means I'm going to take that 56mm estimate somewhere thereabout, multiply that times 0.71, and that brings me back to something like a 40-ish, closer to a truer 35mm focal length. And that matters because when you put a lens on a regular full frame camera, whatever that number is actually what the lens is. When you start getting into smaller camera bodies like the A6400, the M50, those are crop sensor cameras or APS-C cameras, which means we now need to multiply whatever that number is. So 35 times 1.6, if it's Canon, or like the Sony A6400, it'd be a 1.5. So real quick, another example. I take this 16mm kit lens that I have here, and I want to multiply that times a 1.5 crop factor that's happening on the camera. That's going to give me 24mm. So in true full frame, setup, this is actually 24mm versus 16. I get it. It can be a little confusing, sometimes a little bit over the head, but just know that that's why we may want something like a speed booster so that we can reclaim some of the stuff that we lose as far as distance when we add that. So when you take something like this Yongnuo 35mm amazing, cheap, budget-friendly lens, and we add that to this speed booster, this now becomes an amazing, amazing little lens that honestly puts a lot of other lenses to shame. All right, next point, which is kind of like the last point, or second to last point. Okay. Okay. So the next thing I think that makes this Yongnuo 35mm lens amazing is simply just the quality. Now, yes, you will have people on the internet that will tear a lens or a camera to death. They'll zoom in 800% and go all the way to the side of the corner. When's the last time you looked at a picture and was zoomed into, like, that's not even real. So I don't do that. For what I'm seeing, what the average person is going to see, is it looking nice or is it looking terrible? And that's honestly how I like to judge lenses, based on the use case. I have used this for projects at church. I have used this for my live stream, and everybody has given nothing but compliments, even for family photos. Everybody absolutely loves the image that comes out of this lens, and nobody cares about it. Now, if you do care about it, yes, on the very, very edges of the frame, it does get a little bit blurry on the edge, but I promise you, if you're on the edge of the frame, you're not taking that person's photo. So if you did have a wider group, then you do need to step back, obviously, because they're at the edge of the frame and they're probably going to get cut off anyway. So if something like that, depending on your use case, is important to you, yeah, that's a limitation of this lens. But other than that, it takes amazing quality stuff. And it leads me into my next point, which is autofocus. So when it comes to a lens, absolutely, autofocus is the most important thing that a lens can have, because either it's going to do a good job or it's going to suck. And this lens actually does a pretty gosh darn good job. So when it's focusing, which leads me into another slight limitation, not that big of a deal depending on your use case, but when it's focusing, it actually does a really good job to make sure it keeps up with Canon's dual pixel autofocus so that you stay in the frame. Quick limitation that this lens has that I've found in my experience, which is really just two things around autofocus. The first thing is going to be this. If you can hear that, that is the autofocusing motor. So as it's refocusing, you'll hear little chipmunks happening in the lens. However, even if you're about an arm's length away, maybe a little bit more for what I have my camera currently set up, freaking airplane. Okay, we'll do limitations part. Okay. So that's nice. Adam, you're saying, were you recording the whole time and going to edit out the parts you don't want? Yes, I'm recording the whole time. So I don't start and stop recording. I just let it run all the way through. I'll do my hands up like this if it's something ahead of that part. Like I didn't mess up. Airplane, I'm distracted and I'm just like, I don't even want to try to do the two at the same time. So now the plane is gone. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump back into it. But I'll put my hands up like this. So in the editing, I'll see my hands up, which lets me know, get rid of everything before that part, before the hands. So I was on limitations, so I'll go back to limitations there. Okay. I gotta do the autofocusing part again, or maybe do it. I don't know. I'll do it just to be safe. So one of the things when it comes, okay, let me start over. So one of the things when it comes to one of the limitations, potentially depending on if it's important to you, is going to be this. You hear all those little chipmunks type noises? That's the autofocusing motor. So if it's in manual focus, you don't hear any of that. But what's actually different and what's cool about some Canon lenses, if you see on the front of the lens, it says STM, like Susan, Tom, and Mary. I don't know who either of those people are. So if that's your name, hello to you. But if it says STM, then that means it has a stepper motor in it, meaning that it's going to focus really quiet. So lenses like these, usually third-party lenses, it doesn't have a stepper motor in there, so it's loud. If you're further away, like I'm about a arm's length away from my camera, maybe a little bit more, if I have a dedicated microphone that I'm using, maybe you don't hear it, maybe you do. I can guarantee you probably hear the airplane going over right now. But the autofocusing motor is actually, unless you're like vlogging and it's picking up the, like it's literally just like right here, depending on what kind of a lens, like there are like lenses like Tokina and whatever else, and those are very loud, it's going to pose a problem. And so what you want to do is have a little bit of distance. Other thing when it comes to like autofocus, which these kind of are dealing with as far as limitations, is not just the sound of it, but sometimes very few I've had where it just kind of goes berserk and it just will go completely blurry and then it refocuses. That takes a few seconds for it to do that. So like I'm doing this video right now and you'll audibly hear this thing, it just goes crazy. And so you won't like know, like, oh man, I messed it up or I didn't know. You'll definitely know if it ever kind of has that issue, but at the same time, it doesn't do it that often. I don't know what that is other than it's just maybe a third-party lens. It is, again, a budget-friendly, cheaper lens, but that's something that is to note about it. So once you acquire the autofocus on your face, you shouldn't have that problem. Like I said, I've had a couple times, but other than that, it honestly does an amazing job with keeping up. But as you're moving closer, further away from the lens, and it's refocusing, you will hear some of that focusing motor issues. But that's pretty much the only limitations that I found using this Yongnuo 35mm lens. All right. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, okay, so I can close. All right. So overall, for $95, maybe $85, depending on where you find it, for a 35mm lens, not including the speed booster, but just the lens by itself, this is an amazing quality lens that will get you nice blurred backgrounds. If you wanted to use it for live streaming, have a nice blurred background for family photos and things like that, or even thumbnails, depending on what you're trying to do. But at the same time, I don't think you can go wrong with something like this. Yongnuo also has a 50mm lens, but I've talked about this in previous videos. But if you actually want to check out a live stream where you can see this lens and the speed booster in action. I actually talked about how you could live stream with a setup like this that actually keeps your battery. No, that messed it up. What am I trying to say? Let's do the close again. I want to say about live streaming. Something about live streaming. All right, I'll get there. So overall, for about $95, maybe $85, depending on where you find it, the Yongnuo 35mm lens, I think it's actually worth it. I think it's not a lens that you could go wrong with, or it would be quote unquote a waste of money. So I've done a ton of live streams. Honestly, this became my dedicated live streaming setup when I was using the M50. And so if you're wondering how you live stream with the M50, I've done a video about that and how you can kind of avoid power issues like with the battery dying. So I'll link that up in the YouTube card up above. But this became my dedicated live streaming lens setup just because it worked so well. If you're in a lower light, situations, because the M50 sometimes struggles with that, you can get better quality, just a look, and then better quality as far as bringing additional light into the camera when you add on that speed booster, and it just kind of changes up your whole setup to the point to where you get to record videos that are live that look like they're recorded videos. But if you want to do this for portraits, regular videos, I don't think you can go wrong with something like the Yongnuo 35mm lens. And there's actually a few other cheap lenses that I've used that are very budget friendly, under $300. So I'll keep doing a few more of these. But if you want to know some other brands or maybe some other third-party lenses that are cheap that do a really good job that I've used, let me know down in the comments down below. But other than that, I think this lens is definitely worth buying, and I think it is probably worth adding into your kit. But that's where I'm going to leave it for today's video. If they enjoyed what you saw, what you heard, and if it was super helpful to you and you're considering getting this lens, let me know down in the comments. But with that, my friends, live with passion, and I'll see you in the next video. Right, a couple flubs in that one. So that's about 20 minutes. So overall, start to finish, that would have been under an hour of recording. So now that I have my record to edit settings that I'm good for, I know my audio levels need to be, if I want to use a lapel mic or whatever, I know the Rode Wireless Go is going to work fine. The battery length is good on that. I don't have any problems with that. Other than that, I pretty much, those are the two videos that I wanted to do. So for me, that would have been 40 to 45 minutes of recording. And that works fine for my use case. So that was the two videos, and now I'm going to leave the desk and stuff like this set up because I do need to get a Sharpie when I go get something to eat. But if you have any questions, you can drop those down below. But this lets me know this setup works. So what I'll do now, again, following my record to edit process, so if you want to create one for yourself, then I've literally walked you through the whole thought process and all the things in between. I marked my settings. I know what my camera settings need to be. I'll adjust the white balance once I get the lens probably. I could have done it for this video, but I didn't feel like it. But automatic white balance looked fine for what I can see. And I'm in standard as well, so I'm not doing no heavy color grading or whatever for that. What else? Podcasting microphone setup. Because I probably will want to, that lets me know now what questions, issues came up or whatever. I probably want to use a podcasting microphone for this setup, so I don't have to worry about taking that off and putting it back, just keeping it simple. So the Comica CVM, whatever it is that has the XLR ports, is something I probably will be adding because I'd rather have this just right off to the side, and I can adjust and dial in the audio levels and things like that. Check my levels, headphones, which is why I like this. It gives you, for a camera that doesn't have a headphone jack, you get a headphone jack. So, and you get to dial in your settings even more than what your camera can do, and whatever, the Rode Wireless Goes, which the Comica came out. I wish I had a connect with somebody that could send me those microphones. They are coming for the Rode Wireless Goes, and I honestly think Comica did a better job. So I want to get a pair of those and test those out for real. And it's only $259 for the Comica CVM AX, not AX1, that's this thing, but the Comica something, whatever it's called. So that was pretty cool. So I don't see no additional comments in the thing that I can check since I'm done using the app. But that works out pretty good. So I can show y'all real quick before we close out the video. So that was fun, for me at least. What it looks like. You can tap. So that's the setup on my phone. So that's what those videos will look like when it is recording. And so I'll get the Sharpie marker so that I can mark the tripod exactly where it needs to be. Like I said, I like to switch it up a little bit, but it's a small room. So I'm always thinking about, like, this is a new angle. I've never done this angle before, but it lets me know if I want to do one of these again. Now I can just mark. One, I'm going to put everything in automatic because I'm not managing that camera. And I guess I'll do on my Instagram stories, which is at Diana Gladney, if you want to connect there. Show you how I have my phone for Instagram, so that had the same thing. You can have both of those side by side. But this is how I do this. So even if I'm going to a shoot for a client of mine and stuff like that, I'll do the same thing. What does the ISO need to be? What's the exposure need to be? What does the audio levels need to be? Take note of those. What's the lighting temperature? So if the power went out, everything shut off accidentally, whatever, somebody tripped over a cord, the settings, somebody touches something, somebody's little kid touches something, okay, shoot. Then what were my settings? I don't know. I don't remember. So the record edit process is something I use literally in every kind of setup. Even if you're using a webcam, I came up with the exact same stuff for that. So I guess I'll leave this live on the channel for those of you that want to see it after the fact. And then we could probably do another one of these once I get the prime lens that I'm thinking of getting for this actual setup that I'll use for my live streaming and stuff as well. And then we'll go from there. But if you have any questions, even if you watched the replay, if you literally stuck around for this long, thank you for your time and attention. I appreciate you. If you're watching this live again, thank you for your time and attention, because you gave me what cannot be given back, which is time. But those are the two videos that I'm doing today. Let me know if you guys want to see more of these, any other questions I could potentially answer for you, or something like that. And then if you have any other video ideas that you want one created, because it was a couple, which is why I'm going to leave this set up. Later tonight, I'll probably do some more, because it's like this time of day, I have these settings. What if I want to do this setup at night? I no longer have that light now, and it's darker. And then maybe I'm not contending with noise in the building or the street and all that stuff. So now what are the settings going to be? So I'll do it again tonight so I can have those settings as well. That way, when I get the other lens, the only thing I'm looking at then at that point is the lighting to make adjustments for that. So that's where I'm going to leave it. So if you didn't hit the like button, hit the like button. It's always greatly appreciated. But that's where I'm going to leave it. And then I'll do on Instagram and show you how I had the camera and the phone hooked up the whole time so you can see that as well. But yeah, that's where we're going to leave it. So peace out. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for giving me a little bit of your time on Saturday. Actually, if you use the mouse. Or you could just do it right here. Yeah. We'll call it squaresies.